I have some regrets about the video that I posted yesterday. Just a few short hours before the Toronto Maple Leafs played the Ottawa Senators, I posted a video on my channel yesterday going on about how the Toronto Maple Leafs seem to have this new style of play that allows them to carry a lead into the third period and able to withstand that lead. A lead that teams of Leafs past have just found a way to blow, and that this year it's been so impressive and refreshing to see the Toronto Maple Leafs keep a lead and hold on to wins. And the first, or one of the first times this season that we saw a final collapse in a third period was the Montreal Canadiens. Well, it didn't take long for me to want to eat those words, and here I am today just admitting that I was wrong and that it looks like the same team plagued with the same issues as we've always been. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously I understand that this team is particularly different from all other teams, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but wow, just such an embarrassing game, frustrating. It's tough to watch, tough to take in that even happened. The Toronto Maple Leafs going into the end of the second period with a 5-1 lead, giving up a 5-2 goal right at the end of that second period, and then ultimately blowing that, leading to overtime after giving up 3 straight in the third period and losing in overtime 6-5 to the last place Ottawa Senators. Now, I said it early on before the season started that I did expect the Ottawa Senators to be a better team than people would give credit to. And on top of that the Ottawa Senators would be tough competition for the Toronto Maple Leafs just because of the nature of a Battle of Ontario, the nature of the two teams. Regardless which of the two teams has been skilled or better in the past, either team always finds a way to climb out a win in a Battle of Ontario game just because of the rivalry, the experience playing each other, and there's just that added energy of a Toronto-Ottawa hockey game. But this was just taken to a whole nother level. It's something that the Leafs should have never, ever given up, and it was, again, just so embarrassing to watch. I mean, this is supposed to be the first overall team in the North Division in the Toronto Maple Leafs and in the entire NHL, and the final place Ottawa Senators. That's supposed to be a blowout, and we saw that for the first half of the game. It was a blowout. Even though the Leafs weren't even playing that well, they had silly mistakes. We just knew that, Ottawa Senators, we were able to make mistakes and come out with a win, but that's just not what happened, and it was so embarrassing to watch what the Toronto Maple Leafs brought in the third period as an effort. I had a buddy message me after the game last night saying that as a franchise, the Ottawa Senators all time have trailed by 4 goals in a regular season game 240 times. And all time their record is 0, 237, and 3. As in they had never, ever won a game that they had trailed by 4 goals in regulation in a regular season. That being until last night. And I heard somewhere else that statistically, when the Leafs went up 5-1 in the game yesterday, there was a 99.7% chance that the Toronto Maple Leafs win that game. And still, we found the 0.3% chance to blow it. And the rest is history. Those statistics are just too important to ignore. This is a team that is plagued with the issue of their entire franchise of blowing third period leads. We've seen it far too many times. This Toronto Maple Leafs team is groomed and has in their brain that they're able to step off the gas late in a game where they should have it in the bag. I mean, this happens to all teams, but it just seems that the Toronto Maple Leafs do it more than any, and I don't know if that's a cultural issue, if it's the personnel, the players, the coaches. I don't know who to put the blame on, but it's something we got to figure out. But you would think that they would receive this message back in 2013 when we lost to Boston, when we've blown leads in the past few years. You would think that those would be wake-up calls, and it hasn't worked. These guys have not learned. What's it going to take? And we can't wait for another blowout loss like this because it's clearly not what's needed to wake these guys up. I don't know how Sheldon Keefe handles this team after a loss like this when they're in a season where they're playing so well, when they're in first place. Like, obviously the team is doing well and they're a very strong, powerful team, but you gotta discipline them to an extent after this loss. This is just ridiculous. And I said in my video yesterday as well that I expected the Tavares and Nylander line to really step up in these games against Ottawa, and once again we saw that they were just not there. That was, I think, by far the worst game that I've seen Tavares play in a Leafs uniform. Even when we were up 5-1, he was the one turning pucks over, bobbling it, falling down. He just seemed lost. I'm a huge Tavares supporter. I absolutely love the guy. And even in the last few games when he hasn't been showing up on the board, he's been doing all the right things with his work ethic. You've seen him on the defensive end. He's finishing the body. He's doing the right things. But last night, not only was he invisible on the offensive end, but he was really plaguing us. And obviously he had that egregious turnover that led to one of their first goals. But I mean, that was just a really bad game. And Nylander, I'm one of those people that blindly supports Nylander no matter what. I think that he has such great tools in his bag that no other player in the NHL has. His ability to hold a puck in a pressure situation and not turn it over is just so unique and so valuable to a team, especially one that values puck possession so high. But wow, you got to do something. You really do. I mean, Matthews and Marner all season long have been so great, playing so well together, no matter who's on their line, whether that's been Thornton or Hyman or whoever gets placed with them. Those two are consistently always playing this year. And Tavares and Nylander in a game like last night where we start to fall apart a little bit, we need those two to be able to step up. It cannot be solely on Matthews and Marner. Nylander and Tavares, you need to do something, and they just gave us nothing. Worse than nothing, they gave us liabilities. They were part of the reason why Ottawa was able to come back into this game. I was thinking pretty long and hard last night about William Nylander and his future with the Leafs, and I know it's so easy to point at Nylander and say trade him, and I've always been a supporter of William Nylander, and not to say that last night was necessarily his fault or that it's really a show that he doesn't fit with this team, but I was starting to think of what the identity of this Leafs team is this year, because what happened last night is just so against what the identity is. This year, we seem to be a high-flying but hard-working team, a team that's going to fight for pucks, that's going to stay in the game and competitive for 60 minutes, but last night we just resorted back to our old bad tendencies of trying to be all offensive, don't worry about the defensive end, you're able to take your foot off the gas. It's just really bad tendencies. And William Nylander, I don't think he fits the culture anymore. He did when we were a team that was young and skilled and fast and puck possession, but now we have to combine that with hard work, and I don't know if he's the right guy for this team anymore. I really just don't know. And it was made clear last year that the David Ayers game against Carolina, the notorious game where we lost to an emergency backup goalie Zamboni driver, that was the final straw for Kyle Dubas, where Kyle Dubas was in the middle of trying to acquire some players for a playoff push, and he went to the team after that loss and he said, well, you guys showed me tonight that I'm not going to spend our assets to make this team better because the team in this room is not capable of competing for a Stanley Cup the way it is. You guys need to sort this out and play on your own. You did not earn my moves at the deadline to make this team better. And again, this year, this team is so much better, so much deeper, so much more hardworking, and in first place. But that's the kind of effort last night that really makes me believe that something needs to happen, where Kyle Dubas needs to say enough is enough. That's the final straw. You guys are showing us that you're not capable of being a number one team in this league. No matter what your record is coming into this game, teams that are destined to win the Stanley Cup do not blow a 5-1 lead to the final place team in the league. It just doesn't happen. It's never happened before. It should never happen again, and it should have never happened last night. I'm not even saying that the Leafs deserve to win all 3 games. I'm just saying if you're up 5-1, you do not blow that lead. You stop going for the fancy offensive plays. You lock it down defensively. Kill the clock for half a game. Who cares? Do what it is needed to do to win. And they just showed that they are not there yet. Really, they are not there. And so what is Kyle Dubas, what is Sheldon Keefe going to do to really make this the final straw, the last time this is ever going to happen? Because if they don't do anything, it could happen again. And I was literally just saying in my video yesterday that this is not a recurring pattern that the Leafs blow third period leads, but I was wrong. I mean, We would think that that's no longer the case because we've seen it in history and they just did it against Montreal. You would think these guys would think better, but 2 back-to-back games where they just didn't show up in the third period and it bit them. What are we going to do about this team? So if I'm Kyle Dubas, I'm looking at this team and saying, I need to do something to really show these guys that I mean business, that I'm not just their friend, that I'm going to do what I think is best for this team. And I don't care what those guys in the room think about it because they're the ones that are screwing up right now, not Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas did everything in his power in this offseason to make this team what it is, a Stanley Cup champion or a Stanley Cup contender. And the guys in the room just aren't doing what is needed to do to compete. So, I mean, trade Nylander, I don't know. Trade Kerfoot. We just got Galchenyuk, and I want to touch on that a little bit too. I think that was a great acquisition and moved some contracts and roster spots off the books. He's on an AHL contract right now, I believe, because he was sent down after he cleared waivers in Carolina. I think that he can be serviceable. We knew that the Leafs were looking at a top 6 winger, so we can slide in on that Tavares Nylander line. Or maybe he's even a cheaper option as a third line center so that we can move Kerfoot and acquire some players back on some cheaper deals and open up some cap space. We don't know what it is, but I expect something. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. I'm extremely frustrated. I know everyone is too. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what is needed for this team to really show that they earn our respect and that they can compete for a cup, because I honestly thought so in the first 15 games, but after that one, you never know with this team. We could just lose in the first round once again because that's what history has shown us. So let me know your thoughts. I appreciate you clicking on this video, and I will see you in the next one.